Happy day.
Good morning, guys.
Yep. It's a day.
Chris, David, how are y'all?
So how are you guys doing?
Busy.
Yeah, definitely thought it was Wednesday or something. I was like, what are you talking about recording today?
Yeah.
I felt like it was Tuesday and I was like, today's Friday, right?
There's been a lot of things that have happened in the past week. So I feel like it's justified to be losing track of time a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been architecting a new project and it's writing some SQL. Me and my
You
project
or
partner.
Claude?
Not me, Diego, my coworker, because I don't really SQL. I can squeal, but I'm much better at active record than SQL. So I think we got a nice little solution to like an existing thing that we're refactoring a lot of. And it's a really good feeling when you have code that's spread across 3 or 4 different places that's hard to read. It's a little ambiguous at times. And then you take it all and you clean it all up and you put it in a single location and you do it way more performantly because you do a lot more stuff with SQL instead. And without keeping so much stuff in memory, it feels good.
Anything you can do in the database, the better.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. That's why it feels so good, man. It's like this is so much faster.
Derek Sivers talked about, live in the database, live in Postgres.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I haven't been using Claude because I feel like this is creative work and Claude's been pissing me off the past week because it doesn't do anything that I want. And if anything, it wastes my time more than anything. So I'm like, screw this. I'm going to raw dog my NeoVim terminal just like the good old days.
Just writing assembly again. No big deal.
Yeah, just bashing it out, bros.
I'm trying to think what happened this week. This week's been a blur. Didn't new Ruby 4.0 come out?
Yes. Or 4.0.1.
4.0.1. Yeah. That was mostly a bug in kernel sleep, it sounds like. But it mentions that along with other bug fixes. So that must be the crucial one there. And then strangely, 3.2.10 got a release. I don't know if that was in the schedule or it doesn't really say any details on it. It just got released yesterday, but no like notes on it. So not quite sure about that. I didn't even know 3.2 was still maintained.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh, their new website is much nicer, but then trying to figure out where the stuff is that I used to look for. Here it is. Stable releases. 3.2.10 is still considered a stable release, but I don't remember where it says it's kind of like end of life is or whatever the schedule for that. Branches link is the one with that. So 3.2 security maintenance. So presumably 3.2.10 was a security fix?
I couldn't imagine it'd be anything else.
Right.
Like that's such a specific thing to do.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that there wasn't like an announcement, or maybe I'm missing it somewhere. Maybe it was under news.
Maybe it was a security issue, but not like CVE worthy.
No, there's 2 CVEs attached to it.
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it.
It's on the GitHub.
Just talking
shit
on my butt.
It just wasn't on the rubylang.org.
Yeah. Interesting.
URI credentials leakage bypass DOS vulnerability in ReXML. Interesting. Yeah. Because that's expected. March 31st is Ruby 3.2's end of life. That's coming up real fast. 2.5 months. Ruby 3.3 is till 27. 3.4 is end of life TBD. Wonder if that will just be 28 March. I don't know. For like a
split second there, and I have been known to do this, for a split second there, I was like, well, we're in October right now. So that would be and I was just trying to do the math. And I was like, wait a minute.
That AI.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's obviously November 27th. Like, you're absolutely right. It is not still 2025.
I don't know what else happened this week that I can think of. other than new Ruby releases, which we don't get too often. I haven't been keeping up with the Rails main commits or anything, so I don't know what all is new there either. You guys been working on anything fun other than SQL? Squeal?
We have been having some interesting conversation at work about some tool standardization. And I'm just very, very happy that the tools I've picked and championed are the ones that got selected.
I'm curious what tools.
Well, Mies specifically, like I had already kind of switched the whole team over to using Mies. And I had been saying like there's going to be benefits to like whenever we're able to do this. It's really fun to see like those benefits starting to come out, like tasks and scripts and things to do all sorts of things. Like, and one thing that we've also been kind of talking about, which I've been talking about this for a while, is that I don't believe that MCP is the right solution. And even I think, Anthropic has talked about this, where it's like, it's way more efficient to have AI write you a CLI or a code to like do that versus an MCP because of the token usage and the this and that. And so one of the other things that we're kind of doing is trying to replace some of those MCPs with CLIs, and doing that via Mies is really nice because not only can you install like direct tools into Mies packages from NPM or gems, or they have multiple different types of platforms and things you can directly pull from. So I don't have to have like a tool that we're only going to use for scripts that doesn't need to be a part of our gem file. It doesn't need to be a package.json. We just want to pull this specific package out. You can use Mies really efficiently for doing things like that. So that's kind of one aspect of it, is kind of like we write scripts. Like we're good at writing scripts. Like these CLIs are very good for getting exactly what we want out. And then you can pass that on to Claude or whatever. So yeah, just cool to see that. And then I think Foreman comes out of the box with Rails, right? I have disliked Foreman for a while, just because of the way I like to specifically work. Like I need to see like the differences in the logs. Like I'm running multiple processes, so I need to see the differences. So I've been a big Overmind user for years and years, because I also came from a Tmux background already. So it was already really nice to use, but we have kind of decided to standardize on Overmind, which is really nice.
Yeah, I agree on that one. Foreman is fine for something super simple that I think is just pure Ruby. Overmind is built on Tmux, if I remember right, which is how you can say like, let me tap into just the worker or web process, and it pulls that out and it's separate. That's not exactly how Foreman works, but it's fine just because it's such a simple, like no dependencies kind of thing. Yeah, Foreman's just depends on Thor. So pure Ruby is awesome, but it's got its limitations that Overmind is the way to go.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with Foreman. Let me be very clear. Like it does exactly what you want it to do. I mean, it has some usability things that I don't prefer.
Yeah. You can't interact with a process while it's running.
Like, and that's something I have to be able to do. You could use maybe
like the remote Ruby debugger or something else.
Yes, yeah, or Pride remote or whatever.
Yeah, you'd have to use like a remote version of Pry. You couldn't just like binding IRB or Pry in process like you normally would. And to me, that's a fatal flaw. It was like, like I'd rather not use Foreman and just have two terminal sessions open and just run the two processes separately. But Overmind makes that magical.
Yeah, especially because I think running in Tmux, I personally think everything should be run in Tmux to begin with, so that when you accidentally command Q your terminal, which I'm very much known to do, like your stuff doesn't go away, right? So there's a lot of benefits to Tmux alone. And before using Overmind, I had like my own artisanal like Tmux setup for running scripts like this. So Overmind has been a really big help. I absolutely love it. And I've been like very much championing it. Like being able to restart a certain process, being able to tap into it, to connect to all of them. Like it's very nice. I love it. There have been people I've shown Overmind to, and they don't have as big of a Tmux background. So I always run Overmind in daemonize mode or whatever, so that it's in the background. Like I just run the command and it starts in the background and I can connect to it. And I've seen people who are like, they run it like not daemonized, so it's running in their terminal and they don't exactly understand how it all works. So they just, every time they want to like do something, they like stop the whole thing And I'm like, no. Like you can connect to it. Like you see, like you connect to it here and you can tap in here. It's got a lot of like really nice features. So if you're not using Overmind or you haven't heard of it and you're using Foreman, I would highly recommend checking it out. It's one of my most used tools.
Are you tired of babysitting your job queues? Let us do it for you. JudoScale monitors and autoscales your job queues so you can stop babysitting and get back to coding. We support Sidekick, SolidQ, Good Job, and just about every other job backend in Rubyland. And of course, we autoscale your web services too. JudoScale scales up your apps faster than any other autoscaler, so request timeouts and backed up job queues are mitigated before they become a problem. JudoScale has a free plan you can use forever, so there's literally no risk, whether you're on Heroku, AWS, Render, or any other cloud platform. Visit judoscale.com and get your job queues under control.
What else was on the list of standardized tools?
Those are the two main things. One thing that I had standardized this to when switching over to Mies was running Postgres via Mies, because I think everyone kind of had their own way they were running Postgres. I've heard people in the past say they've had issues when they were using ASDF Postgres, but I didn't have any issues with that. And I don't have any issues with Mies Postgres. So that's been nice. Like the fact that we're all kind of starting to run a very, very, very similar, if not exactly the same setup. You kind of need that standardization in order to kind of make more AI rules, quote unquote. You can't standardize a process that has no standardization, I guess.
Let's see. That's not a core tool, is it?
Postgres?
Is that using the ASDF Postgres plugin?
I think it was. I don't know if it still is. But when it first came out, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it looks like they've standardized on languages or whatever. Is Swift is experimental. That's cool. Mies just keeps getting better and better.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And the detail and thought put into every little piece of it is just chef's kiss. Have you seen this new Mies-versions.jdx.dev? It's in the Mies navbar, which I have not seen before. It's showing downloads of like Node, Python, Go are the top 3.
Oh, that's super cool.
Tools. Bun, PNPM, UV.
I started using UV instead of pip.
Yeah.
Like I have not been in the Python world for a long time. But everyone was like, yeah, use UV, and you have UVX, which I think is kind of like NPX. And because you can, like I said, like install specific things from using Mies, it's like, all right, well, let's use UV and kind of try to learn that a little bit more, which it's been nice. It's tricky to figure out how to, what I need to do at first. But because like I said, I haven't been in that community in a long time. But once you get it kind of up and running, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I haven't touched that in Python in ages. So I don't even remember the last version that I used. This is cool. Yeah, it shows like the release timeline too now of 294 releases over 5 years. Something's weird about this timeline for Ruby, though.
Yeah.
It's like everything is on one end or the other. It's not quite right. But yeah, this is neat. So it's like shows the downloads for these. This is really cool. So you can see that like there's 0 downloads of 4.1-dev for Ruby, but you could see that somebody's tried it or whatever. There's very few people using 3.4.4, but 3.4.7 is big. This is neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's also cool about this list is you can see like the specific tools that aren't like a part of like JQ and YQ and pre-commit, like the GitHub CLI. Like these are downloaded directly as packages so that you have them. That's probably my favorite thing about Mies so far.
Yeah.
He has a project called Just, and it's like a standard for almost like yard docs for your shell script. But what it allows you to do is it provides autocomplete back to it. It basically provides like autocomplete for your scripts that you write for Mies if you use it. And I know you can use it outside of Mies tasks or whatever, but just for Mies tasks alone, like it gives you like a way to basically kind of yard doc your scripts. I'll see if I can get a link to that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Apparently, Lexi jumped from 0.1 to 0.7 this week, Monday. It's funny.
It's a bit of a jump.
Are we all just doing the version bumps of like Pagey now?
Pagey's never
That's
going to let that down.
That still amuses me a lot. Yeah, interesting. I wonder why they jumped from 0. Because it's not like they went to 0.9. It was like, we're real close to 1.0. It's like, we're like 2/3 of the way there.
Okay, I realize I made a mistake. I said just. It's actually called usage, not just. Usage.jdx.dev. It's a spec in CLI for defining CLI tools, arguments, flags, environment variables, and config files can all be defined in the usage spec and can be thought of like open API for CLIs. So the potential reasons for defining your CLI with usage spec, it generates auto-completion scripts, generate markdown documentation, generate man pages, use advanced arg parser in any language, scaffold one spec into different CLI frameworks, even different languages, and soon you will be able to host your CLI documentation on usage.sh.
Usage specs are written in KDL, which is a newer document language that sort of combines the best of XML and JSON. Also, there are good things about XML.
Dude, XML has made a comeback.
I'm going back to SOAP APIs, brother.
That's why some of the AI tools are like, yeah, just give us XML, actually. Like, we're going backwards. We're evolving just backwards.
That hurts my soul a little bit.
Interesting. This KDL has implementations in C, C#, C++, Common Lisp, Crystal, Dart, Elixir, Go, Haskell, pretty much every major language. This is interesting. I wonder if there are benefits of like being easier to parse or not. What was the name of Kevin Newton was doing that pure Ruby YAML?
I saw that. I didn't look too much into it, but I saw that post.
You won't have to because he will be joining us soon to talk about these things.
Yep.
But yeah, that blog post he wrote about Psych Pure, that's what it was. That blog post he wrote about it was interesting because it was like just kind of wanted to preserve comments and things, and turns out like I got to redo everything from scratch. Seems like YAML at a quick glance seems like a pretty straightforward spec or whatever, but when you really get into it, it is not. It's interesting. And there's things that like I wish I've never really needed to mess with much, but like in here it mentions, this will only parse UTF-8 strings. Other Unicode encodings are unsupported. The other day I was getting some string back from SSH that was like, or it was Ruby said it was encoded as ASCII 8-bit, but it wasn't actually that. It was UTF-8. So like it wasn't printing the characters out correctly. And we've had to like do encoding. And it's like, well, if you don't know what this character is, replace it with nothing or a question mark or something. Looking at that again, I realized like all we had to do is force the encoding to be treated as the string is UTF-8, and then everything was fine. That stuff is like, you can try to read up on it, but there's not really good documentation for it that's quick to grasp, because I spent a while fiddling with that, looking at some Stack Overflow answers, getting Gemini to give me some of those as suggestions and whatever. And it's like, yeah, just do this. I'm still trying to understand, why did this come out as ASCII 8-bit as the encoding of the string? I didn't choose that. How did that happen? And that sort of stuff. I'm like, still a little bit of a mystery to me as to why that happened. I can fix it and get it to work correctly, but I'd still love to know the actual where that happened and why it happened. But that's something that I feel like I don't know as well as I should. But we typically just don't have to care. It's like everything's typically just UTF-8, and then boom, we're done. Just save it in MySQL, which is already going to be in UTF-8 compatibility, whatever, or Postgres. You just don't have to mess with it very much, which is, I guess, a good thing. But Honeybadger is a performance monitoring and error tracking tool that combines the best monitoring features in one simple interface, with support for all the frameworks you use. It's everything you need to gain real-time insights into the health of your applications. Be sure to bookmark honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
I haven't worked with an encoding bug in a long time, but the last time I did, it took like a week or two. Like it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can't go over this. Like it's really, really hard.
Yeah. It's one of those that brings you back and you're like, hey, you think you know what you're doing, but at least in this area, you don't.
But someone entered something on their keyboard and now I'm spending a week of my life. Like
I actually dealt with that issue recently, and it's almost always feels like they copy and pasted something from a different application that encoded things differently into yours. And now there's a mismatch in the encodings between what they gave you and how that would store. And yes, it's a nightmare every time.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened with my situation or whatever, but it was something to do with like, because we're running over SSH, it like assumes one thing, that it's ASCII 8-bit or something, but
oh, interesting.
I'm not sure. Because like the language or whatever on the server will be UTF-8 or whatever by default in Ubuntu these days. So not sure if it's just like, we didn't know, so we just assumed this or something or whatever. But maybe there's something simple there too that we just need to assign environment variable or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was my first thought too. It's like some Ruby configuration option.
It could be that, or it could be something to do with the Ubuntu
like the actual
setup, or like
machine.
Yeah, because like it could be that because we SSH in as like a non-login shell or whatever, and so your like bash RC script doesn't actually run, which is probably the place where a lot of that stuff is defined automatically or whatever. But there's just like so much when you get into like, you can make it function, but when you get into the actual weeds of like, oh, you didn't even know that language things were an option here, and that this whole process SSH again has to tell the server that I use this language on my machine and we would like to use that on your machine, but your machine's configured not to maybe ignore that or whatever. There's like so many things to understand. It is quite amazing, which is probably why AI makes us more productive, because you can hopefully find some answers for those types of things that was in a weird, obscure blog post that you weren't probably going to be able to find yourself very quickly. But there's still too much to understand. What else? I did stuff for the last 3 days, but I don't remember what. I've been working on new help desk thing and using Lexi for that. I just this morning used Lexi to do like mentioning of a article in a message, so you can use the hashtag and type the name of the article, and that works really well. And I will tell you, Lexi's custom HTML elements are fantastic. To add that feature, you just like define little HTML element and the rest of it's kind of taken care of for you. And support spaces when you're like typing something, which is historically a pain, because I had trouble finding a good like autocomplete or like an @mentions like library. Zerb Tribute was what we used, but then it got abandoned really fast. And so, yeah, I've been like very happy with that Lexical is a good foundation for Lexi. And it still looks like there's a long way to go to people have a pull request to, what was it called? They were discussing extensions yesterday, and they're sort of like building out a way for you to define extensions and do JavaScript stuff that can hook into like the toolbar initialization and insert something or whatever. So I'm excited for that, because that's the stuff that it's getting almost feature complete to equivalent of tricks. There's still like image galleries that is left or whatever, but it's basically there and further than Trix was. And it's like, this, I think, is the where it starts to shine. And it's like, yes, finally the like rich text editor that we can go extend or whatever and do whatever we want with. But then the cool stuff on the other side is the Rails backend portion has been refactored. So like Rails may not ship with a tip-tap front end, but you can build your own integration on the back end to use tip-tap. And so it'll be like really nice just to have it officially like action text any editor that you want in the future, which is awesome.
Nice. That's very cool.
Sean Doyle and Jorge have been doing a ton of that on the Rails side for the refactoring of the like action text editor internals. And I think most of those things got merged. So it drops in Rails 8.2 or something soon, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think the plugin system is kind of important. Like TipTap has that, and we've extended it several times. And it's really nice to be like, hey, thing is really great out of the box, but now I can add in, like you said, like the @mentions, which we support, and like all this other stuff. So yeah, it sounds like it's already kind of exceeded my expectations of what I thought it was going to be. So that's cool to hear it's still chugging.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, it's actively being used in Lexi, or Lexi's actively being used in Fizzy. And I know they talked about they're working on Basecamp 5 now. And I'm sure that they're going to switch to Lexi for the editor. And I'm going to imagine that like that also might make its way back into Basecamp 4 if Basecamp 5 takes a long time. It's kind of in the Rails side. If Lexi becomes the default, it's going to be interchangeable with Trix because Trix was just generating HTML. And as long as Lexi can import that and generate the same stuff, then like you're good to go. One thing I was having fun looking at. So one of the refactorings I did recently in Jumpstart, which I may go back to, is when you paste in a link, you can have it unfurl and reference the YouTube page. And then you can look at the HTML for that and grab like the embed URL for it. And then you can actually embed like the YouTube videos iframe or something. That was fine. I refactored to use that, which is called embed discovery. But then, you know, if you allow anybody to put a URL in there, they could put a domain that points to like localhost, and then they could try and poke around your network and stuff. So I ended up just switching back to a whitelist of applications for that, which I think is probably the simplest thing for Jumpstart users. Just to be extra safe, I don't want to go do anything crazy. But one cool thing is that Fizzy, if you look at Fizzy's Basecamp, Fizzy on GitHub, there is an SSRF protection file in there, which was what I was almost about to implement in Jumpstart before I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take the safest route and do the safe list or allow list. The SSRF protection is cool because it basically does the DNS lookups for you, but you can give it some name servers that you trust. So you can give it like 1.1.1.1, which is Cloudflare's DNS, or Google's DNS of 8.8.8.8.8.8.8.9. And then what they do in here is they like use that to resolve the DNS to an IP address to make sure that it's not a local host IP address or any internal networks or whatever. And then it checks to see if it's in the disallowed range or not, and basically checks to see if that's an okay request to make, which I thought was cool. And if anybody needs something like that, that's an excellent reference that like Basecamp's using in production for that. So we could basically take this and use that same thing and go back to like our sort of free access to any URL you paste in or whatever. But it is one of those things where it's like, who knows if what I was looking at with like the embed URLs is like, there's several gems and other repositories that try and keep a list of like every service that implements embed, and those shut down, then they get bought by somebody else. And then whatever happens to it, it starts sharing ads or spam or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go, at least for Jumpstart, the safe route here seems to be the simplest thing to maintain and just protect people from. Because all we have to do is register like, hey, if it matches one of these regex patterns, then here's the exact endpoint. So even if Reddit had a vulnerability and you gave it a Reddit URL, it's like, we're only going to go to the Reddit embed endpoint. We're not even going to look up and if somebody could inject some HTML in there, not even going to try to do that. So it seemed like a cool solution though, to get confirmed that like, yeah, you could do all this SSRF protection yourself if you wanted to. And they have a nice example of that. It was just something that I remember looking at earlier this week that I thought would be good. I'll have to share this in the notes as well.
Nice. Well, I think we use a service for that.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry
like,
about that.
You can use a service for that. And that is a really good alternative. And then, yeah, like the OEmbed discovery stuff is kind of designed so you can just, if they give you a URL, go grab the contents of it, parse it. It will have a meta tag to their OEmbed endpoint in it, potentially. If it does, then you take the URL you were given and send it to that endpoint. So you got to make a couple network requests and whatnot. And it's like that service probably solves that. So you only do one, but hopefully they also protect you from these malicious types of things. And it's like one of those can of worms that if you mess something up here, you might be in trouble. You also have to worry about like slow clients and other DDoS type attacks and whatever. So make sure every single thing you do has timeout set. And so, yeah, but Fizzy's a great code base to read through for things like that. That's all I got. I'm tired. Needed that.
I am too, but I need to do stuff.
I'm going to go do stuff in my dreams, pretend to work while I'm sleeping.
Oh,
if I'm dreaming that I'm working, like I was working, right?
I just saw a post about that where they're like, we have this theory, like we're going to be able to make it so that you can work in your sleep by connecting think about it, right? If I've got a neural link and I'm asleep, but my inner brain can talk to Claude and, probably drain my bank accounts or whatever.
Just have Claude talk to other Claudes, right?
Yeah. A year later, for some reason, all of us are talking about how we don't feel like we get any rest anymore, ever.
So weird. Not the time where your cerebrum's supposed to flush.
And then you wake up in one of those bath things that Neo is in.
Oh, yeah,
You're like, why do my eyes hurt? It's because you've never used them before.
You've never used them before.
Okay, Morpheus.
Amazing. I love that movie. All right. Well, then.
It was a documentary. It's not a movie.
One of the first names you see in the credits is Andrew Mason. So just think about that.
Yep. That's why it was a documentary.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had to think about it, but yeah, you're right. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Later.
Peace.